talking about some of the defensive performances that we saw against USC. Pulling it up here, the first guy you got to shout out, guys, Jonah Ellis. PFF actually granted Jonah Ellis 2 sacks in that game, where I think ESPN only gave him 1. He had 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 1 hurry, 2 stops in the game, which is a negative play for the offense. If you guys don't know, Jonah Ellis is leading Power 5 football in sacks, and his PFF grades are through the roof week in and week out. Jonah Ellis is a super, super impressive player. It's looking like he has the potential to be a first-round pick. Very, very likely for Jonah. And he's been a monster on the season, right? 392 snaps, 11 sacks, 1 hit, 17 hurries. Looks like an awesome player, guys. And then stops on the offense. He has 24 stops. One of the best players on this team, one of the best players on this defense. And the PFF grade this past week for Jonah wasn't high, but I think for our defense, this wasn't going to be a high PFF grade, especially on the D line. We're going to talk about a few other guys, but I think what it was the game plan, right? It was rush 4, contain Caleb Williams inside the pocket as much as you can. Don't just try to beat your block and get back there. Contain Caleb Williams in the pocket as much as you can, get some pressure, and force him make mistakes. And it worked. It worked super well. The defensive game plan was brilliant. All right, moving on to the next guy, Van Fillinger. Van Fillinger is really starting to look like the guy we all thought he could be. Van Fillinger is another edge rusher, and he looks awesome. He's got 11 tackles on the year, 3 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 7 hurries, and 8 stops. And don't forget, he's been dealing with some injury problems throughout the year when you look at those stat lines. But when you're watching these past couple games, you can tell that Fillinger is looking like a guy that's starting to click, right? We've all had super high hopes. He was a 4-star prospect coming into Utah. I know I've been hyping him up for a couple of years now, and it's really starting to look like we're right there. He hasn't gone over the mountain yet, but he's climbing up to the top right now. And I can see Fillinger being a really, really good player for Utah as this season continues to develop. He did have a sack on Caleb Williams and had 2 sacks when we played Cal. So, super, super impressive. Another guy that showed up as an edge rusher, Connor O'Toole. He had 2 stops, which again is a negative play for the offense. He had 4 tackles. He had 2 pressures, 2 sacks. Awesome game by Connor O'Toole, a guy that's been injured almost all year, but is working his way back into the lineup now, and was a guy that had a ton of hype and should continue to improve as he loosens up a bit and gets to the point where he's ready to be that guy for this Utah defense. But I mean, those 3 edge rushers. I mean, imagine if we still had Logan Fano, another devastating injury where a guy's out for the season. We just happen to be blessed with really good edge depth. Jonah Ellis, Van Fillinger, and Connor O'Toole. That's an amazing rotation. They can stay fresh, but a really talented group of guys. The next guy I want to talk about is Cole Bishop. Now, I know a lot of people know who Cole Bishop is, but he got a targeting penalty against Cal, kind of a BS targeting penalty against Cal, but, is what it is. And then he's out for the first half against USC. Once Cole Bishop was in, this team was revitalized on defense. I mean, we were looking good on defense, but it turned it up a notch. That's why people keep calling him Coke Bishop, because once he's in, dude, it's like the whole defense just did a line and is ready to freaking go. But Cole Bishop, a guy that I've been super high on for 3 years now. He's a super good player and a guy that I think is the key to this defense being that next level defense, right? Him being on point every game, week in and week out, and showing up like the player we know he can be is super important. Stats for Cole Bishop, 35 tackles on the year. He's got 2 sacks. He's got 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and 3 pass defenses. Cole Bishop's a really good player, guys. He's number 8 out there on the field. I'm sure if you're a Utah fan, you guys know who Cole Bishop is. He's the freaking man, dude. He's an animal, and he's ready to getting a dogfight week in and week out. I do also want to just give an honorable mention to Vaki. I know I spent a lot of time talking about Sione Vaki earlier on offense and touched on defense a little, but I do just want to make it clear Sione Vaki is a huge piece of this defense, and the fact that he was playing both ways and still making plays on D, super impressive for Vaki. The other guy I want to mention before I conclude with the defense is Zamaya Vaughn, dude. Zamaya Vaughn it's kind of like Van Fillinger, where it's like we saw the flashes last year for Zamaya Vaughn, and we thought so highly of him. Zamaya Vaughn's our cornerback one, right? And Zamaya Vaughn, we really saw the flashes, and I was so excited about him coming into this year. And don't get me wrong, he has not looked bad. That's not what I'm saying here. But what I am saying is I think he has the makings of an elite corner, not just a good corner, like one of the better corners in all of college football, one of the best corners in all of college football. And last night against USC, or Saturday night against USC, Zamaya Vaughn showed freaking up. I think he is a guy that shines under the spotlight. Let's go ahead and just pull it up here because I want you guys to know. I know they don't count tackles for Lawson here, but he had 5 tackles as a corner, and they were not going his way. I'm not going to spend too much time bashing the cornerback 2 situation. Excuse me, but I can tell you for sure they were going the other direction because they did not want to mess with Vaughn, and they were trying to pick on whoever was the corner opposite Vaughn, which needs to get figured out, needs to get cleaned up, but I'm not going to focus on the negativity. I'm going to focus on the positivity. Vaughn looks awesome. I'm expecting him to follow it up against Oregon. I mean, damn, dude, this defense feels awesome. Super exciting here, guys.